I'll just tell you a little bit about the client that I've built this solution for. So this is a tech company, and they have quite sophisticated tech for tracking revenue, and were acquired maybe a year and a half ago by a larger parent company. So when I started working with them, there was a couple of challenges that they were facing. So having been migrated into the parent company's sales CRM, there's a long process of getting that fully optimized for them and their specific needs. And in terms of their day-to-day workflow and work management, they have been using spreadsheets, some parts of it done with the sales CRM from the parent company, lots of spreadsheets, a little bit of Jira, and lots of communication via Slack and email. And in terms of the flow of data, the client data that's important to them, that they need to track and know about every single customer of theirs, the data is quite spread out between these different places and these different systems, and with different teams using their own spreadsheets, individuals using their own spreadsheets. So what they were really lacking was a single source of truth to manage and be able to store and manage and update that client data, and for everyone to be working out of the same set of data, if you like, and keep it clean and consistent. When you've got lots of different sets of data and people working in their own little siloed areas, you can end up with inconsistencies. So yeah, there was a real need for that. So the main need was for that single source of truth. And then secondary to that would be I could see that they could benefit from a more efficient way of working with that data and managing their workflows. So I'd started a project to build them a solution. I'd been asked first to deal with one particular spreadsheet, but then out of this sprang a bigger project to actually create this single source of truth kind of database. I had a lot of experience using Airtable to do similar things for other individuals and teams. I knew the power of a no-code relational database, which Airtable is, and what you can do with that, fully customizable. So that was the obvious place for me to start. And I started building something. And at a certain point, I hadn't got too far into the project, luckily, because then I heard about SmartSuite. So this was new to me. It took me by surprise. I actually heard about it via Gareth Pronavost's video that he made on YouTube, using some of the features of SmartSuite that set it apart. And it caught my attention. I had a look into it. It seemed quite exciting. So I wanted to find out more for myself and get going with using SmartSuite. So I dived right in and loved it. And I could see straight away that it had features and functionality that would be perfect for this project. I made the decision to act fast and speak to them and say, look, I know we've started with this other tool, but I feel that this will give us everything that gave us and more. And I think it will be good for the teams to work with. With both tools, there's the ability to build this customized database, which was the core thing we were looking for, the ability to create workflows and lots of automation capability as well. However, there was some things about SmartSuite that set it apart, and some of the cons or drawbacks that I knew I was going to face with the original build had been solved by SmartSuite. So that was why I actually chose to take a bit of a leap of faith and go with SmartSuite. At that point, I worked with it quite a bit now. I'm feeling pretty good about it. But yeah, at that point, it was new to me. So I am now going to demonstrate some of those features that caught my attention, and that once I started working with it, I even more experienced what those features could do and uncovered more as well as I went along. Specifically, it was those original things that caught my attention was the ability to link your data across different solutions as they are in SmartSuite, but you might know them as bases if you're familiar with other tools. And the ability to set permissions at the level of an app or a table. That I felt would be quite important with this particular project. And was certainly something that, that both those things were things that felt like they were missing and were a slight concern as well. So I was really happy with that. When I first saw SmartSuite demonstrated, it was also the My Work function, which allows you to, I like to think of it as an automatically generated to-do list fully organized for you. You don't have to think about putting stuff on your to-do list. It's done for you. So that was an exciting feature, I felt. And then once I got into using it, field types that were available that just took it to that next level and brought in where it, rather than just being a relational database, all of that project management and productivity functionality that SmartSuite have very cleverly put in as core key features. So things like sub-item field types, which allows you to create almost like records within records. Checklists, that was a big one. Checklists where you can assign to a person and a due date, and loads more. But let's get into it rather than me just talking about it. So I'm now going to share my screen and show you just a few of the things that I have done on this particular project. Right, are you seeing my screen?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes, great. And you're seeing SmartSuite, I hope. I haven't gone to the wrong screen. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, for this particular project, I've created a main data sort of app for the client's data. So this would be that single source of truth. This is where all the data points that we need to know about each client will live. And then the other main one that I'm going to show you today is the onboarding and partner success management app, which is where the onboarding team and the partner success team, whose roles overlap and what they're actually doing, that's where they will work on the specific kind of workflows that they have. We're here in a view that I particularly like. So one of the things that I loved when I got into working with SmartSuite was, lots of project management tools have a Kanban view. And that's great. Different ways of looking at your data. Obviously, if you're familiar with these tools, you've always got a grid view. It looks a little bit like a spreadsheet. Obviously, this is a lot more colourful and nice and user-friendly, but essentially that's your basic view, is the grid view. And then you might have a Kanban view. But what I loved about this is that rather than just being able to sort your data into lists according to one criteria, there's the swim lane feature. If we see here, you can do the column groupings by one criteria, and then the sort of horizontal ones, the swim lane grouping by different criteria. So in this use case, we can see that I've got the PSMs that are assigned to the clients in my columns, and then the swim lanes are the status of the client. And as well, it's quite nice, you can collapse them so that you can keep it nice and tidy. I do like to have things clean and tidy. So we can see straight away, and we can move these along. There we go. So that you can sort your data and really see, just without having to do too much, where everything is, what status things are in. Let's open up a record, because I think, again, this is one thing that I loved when I started working with SmartSuite, was the ability to, in the open records view, if you like, when you've opened a record like this, you can create sections so that you can keep all your fields hidden away until you want to look at them, and obviously organize the fields into grouping. It's really a bit of a game changer, I think, in terms of the functionality that, as I mentioned, Airtable, you can't do this. So when you open a record, you're going to see every field that's in that record all in one big list, and that can just be a bit overwhelming. Whereas with this ability to create these nice sections, so even if you have 100 fields or more, they're all tidied away, and quite easy just to drop down then and look at what you want to look at. So that was a feature that I really loved. Obviously, this being a database, we can link fields, so we can link across to any other part of the workspace. So in this case, I'm linking here to a solution that's in a different solution. I'm linking to, rather than just only being able to link within this solution, I can link to my products, which I've put into a separate solution there. So that's a great feature. For this project, I wanted the ability to create a new record in that onboarding partner success app from this one. That's where actions come in and make your workflow much more streamlined. So I'm just going to set this back to this status. I'll just save and then refresh. And then by changing the status, that will automatically create the records the way I want it over in the other table. So let's see if that works. Where are we? There we go. Okay, so if I go here, and also if I assign the PSN in this case, that should also assign it in that record. And then I'll show you another automation that I've got for this one to create a checklist. So we're going to change it to customer onboarding and save it. Okay, so the first thing you should notice is that it's no longer in the prospect closing status. It should now be here. Okay, and if we pop over, okay, we've got our, which one was it? It must have been one of these, yeah. Here we go. The next thing I want to do, and again, over in this app, I've done the same thing. I've used sections because they are, yeah, really super useful. And it did mean as well, the thing that this allowed me to do in this particular project was combine the customer onboarding and the partner success, because originally I'd envisaged having two different tables or apps. But really, because their work crossed over, it made sense to put them together. But if I'd had all of the fields that were needed for both all in one, it could have been very messy. So the great thing about this is that I'm able to, as I said, just organize the record itself, which is just brilliant. Yeah, for this one, I'm just going to show you. Okay, so I created this section called Client Need to Know. So part of what the partner success team does is obviously you have to get to know the client and various things about the client and then populate what previously it's been a spreadsheet. But so the idea now is that, sorry, I'm in the wrong place. Sorry, I can't find my trigger. Where's it gone? The trigger seems to have actually, oh, that's unfortunate. The trigger that sets off this automation, I can see is not there. Okay, here it is. Oh, sorry, it is. I was looking in the wrong place. That just shows you how well I know my own database. Right. So yeah, the adoption plan as it's called. So we just changed the status again. So I've got a status here, add adoption plan checklist. So at the moment, that checklist is not populated. There's nothing there. If I just save that, and then it might take a second or two, but then hopefully we should see that update. I might need to do a refresh. So what's great about this is you can automatically assign lots of tasks to somebody, to yourself, somebody else. And then those were, so that's there now. We'll open it up again and have a look at what that looks like. And then I'll show you how that looks in the My Work feature. So if we now click here, we now have a checklist. Because of the rules that have been set on that automation, the due dates are calculated from, there's various ways that you could set that up. But in this case, I calculate from when this is created, a certain number of days ahead, depending on what the need is. So that has now created, let's have a look. It's now showing in My Work, which, as I said, is a to-do list is automatically collated for you. And that will be from across the whole workspace. So no matter what you're working on, no matter what solutions you've set up, maybe you've got projects that you manage or something like this, where you have tasks that relate to getting a client's data all correct. And in there, create a checklist item. As long as you set a due date and assign it to somebody, that will appear in their list. You could also then do additional things like send them a Slack message, all off the back of that same one automation. So I haven't set that up yet, but that will be coming down the line. That's a few of the things I've showed you there that I particularly like about SmartSuite and what I've built into this one. There are so many features. For example, the Smart Doc feature, which I could probably quickly show you. Because I've used that here in this notes section, I was trying to replicate something that they were doing, but make it work a little bit better. You use the /, you can then choose various things to insert in this field, which is it's called Smart Doc. So it's like you can create a fully interactive document. So if I put date, and let's say choose today's date, and then I can write a note. And so that's there then on the record, rather than having to create a field with a date. And it's just another way. There's many options, I think, in SmartSuite for doing different things. So it's just figuring out the best way for your particular use case. But this is some of the ways that I've utilized these features. The sub items that I mentioned earlier. So for example, here I've used it to create a log of client communication. Maybe if you're going to have a call or you've had a call with a client, you can log the details of it, and it's got the individual fields. So that's what I meant, like a record within a record. And then separately, I've put a time tracking log, because in this use case, there might be certain limits to how much time that the client pays, for example, or is included in what they get in their package. Yeah, that's another feature that I really. So I hope I've showed you quite a few features, how they work in this use case. I've certainly showed you some of my favorites, but there's plenty. I haven't showed you everything. Another thing, just really quickly, that I will show you that I like, again, going back to Kanban view. So again, in this example, I'm using the swim lanes. This is such a great feature. So again, we've got status across the top, and we've got the people in the swim lanes. But what I've been able to do here is change this. You can change the size of the cards, essentially. It's just little features that just take it to that next level, I think, and make it really user-friendly and nice to use, because that was the other big thing. As soon as I got into SmartSuite, was just, it's got a nice feel. It's quite inviting. And I think that makes a massive difference when you're using it to a client, particularly. It's nice to use. And yeah, with so many features, it's just ready to go. It's ready to use, but you can see the versatility is really good. Yeah, that's my little walk around. Like I say, lots more will be coming in this particular project, but yeah, that's the start anyway.
That's
Back
awesome.
to you, Avi.
Yeah, Nina, thank you so much for that quick demo. Really awesome to see and learn the features you like about SmartSuite. And we're going to be following along as you continue this build for the client and discover more and more of their use cases. We're actually joined today by John Darbyshire, the CEO of SmartSuite. I'd like to, John, is there any product updates you wanted to share, or should we just dive right into Q&A?
Yep, I think there's one quick product update I'll just let people know about. I know quite a few people have been waiting for this. So we released yesterday in beta form the new button field type that allows you to add a button to basically any app. And inside of that button, you can either add a static link or a dynamic link using a formula. That's the first step in our phase and what we're making available through the button field type. We're going to be adding some really cool stuff here in the next 2 months to the button that allows you to perform all kinds of actions, both inside of SmartSuite and outside of SmartSuite with any of the integration actions that we have. So if you need to on-click push information into Salesforce or pull data from Intercom or send something to HubSpot or send an email, all those types of things will be available as buttons to make it just very easy for you to have your users click on that. We have also implemented the alpha version of our new data import that has increased validation. These are it's meant for everybody, but for people that are implementing tens of thousands of records and the quality of the data is not very good, and you know that, our new importer will allow you to find that issue one time, and then it will fix that same occurrence in every cell in the spreadsheet for you. So it will drastically reduce the time of getting good data into SmartSuite. There's a special hotkey that you have to use to turn this feature on since it's in alpha. So if you have an interest in testing out just the first phase of the alpha piece for the new data, feel free to contact our support team and we'll get you the information so you can join in on that. We're about a week and a half away from releasing that in beta to everyone. Right now, it's just in alpha as we finish up some testing. And Avi, I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, excellent. Well, I'm super excited for that button feature. I think it's a really cool button, and I can tell people are very excited for it. So, folks, the button field type is available. Go and check it out, and stay tuned for the upcoming updates we're going to be making to that button to allow additional functionality. I wanted to just point out one quick thing. So on the bottom of everyone's Zoom controls, there's something called Q&A. If you have a question you want us to take live by either John or Nina, please drop your question in there and we will do our best to take all the questions that come in. And then you can continue using the chat if you want to communicate with the other folks that we have here on the webinar. But we're going to open up the floor to Q&A. And so those of you who have any questions, we're happy to take them live. Please feel free to drop them in the Q&A.
Bobby, I see a question here already. Let me just answer it real quick on QuickBooks that's in. So you can integrate with QuickBooks in two ways. You could use our Zapier connector that we have available right now. Our make.com connector is actually in the approval state with Make. So hopefully it comes out in the next couple of days and Make will be available to everybody. They both support books, but we're also adding QuickBooks as a native integration inside of SmartSuite as well. So you'll be able to add customers, add invoices, those types of things directly inside of SmartSuite when certain triggers happen to push data into books.
Okay, excellent. Folks, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to drop them.
I think, Avi, I'm seeing another one that's just coming up asking about will the webinar be available as a recording? And the answer to that's yes. So once the webinar is over, we'll package that back up and we'll push it back out through LinkedIn, through the SmartSuite channel that we have there, as well as to anybody that's registered today, we'll get the link to the recording.
Okay, it looks like Jeff has a question here. ClickUp has the option to send email to task, get email address via the right click menu. How do I do this in SmartSuite?
Yep. So that capability is coming. It's actually in testing right now with Outlook and Gmail for you to use that as a trigger. So we can actually monitor your inbox. When certain conditions take place, we can then auto pull that information directly into SmartSuite and create new records or update records based on that information. You can do the same thing with our Apply integration that is available now. Applies in a limited beta, but that capability is the most frequently used item that's there. And then we have a new feature that we are working on. I have a hard delivery date of January the 15th or sooner, which is the ability to email inside of a record. So you'll be able to go into like the comments panel that we have today, but actually instead of sending an internal comment, you'll be able to send an email. And then we will track the other side of the email so that if there are any replies, it will auto attach back to the email that you sent in the record as well. So you have one place to maybe go into contacts or something to manage emails by customer.
Okay, excellent. I see a whole bunch of questions just came in the Q&A. Let's start with you, Nina. Natalie is asking, can you create checklist templates? Example, months off the year that can be used anywhere in the platform. So I think Natalie is asking about the checklist templates in the automation.
Okay, can you just repeat that? I wasn't quite sure what the question was.
Sure. So Natalie is asking, can you create checklist templates that can be used anywhere in the platform?
Sorry, John, did you want to take that?
I'll go ahead if she's not super familiar with that. But yeah, as part of an automation, checklist is a field type, and you can go and add as many checklist items as you want in the automation and then have that triggered off of something so that you could say maybe that if the property type is residential, I want to have these 20 checklist items, but if it is commercial, I want to have these 20 items different. It also has an append capability so that you could set up multiple templates. And if those actions are true, it will just append each set of template items, checklist items on top of each other inside of the same field for you.
Okay, Natalie, hopefully that answers your question. If you want us to expand on that, let us know and we can probably share a screen and kind of show that. Tara is asking, Nina, how's the customer receiving the implementation so far?
So far, so good. The initial reaction was great. I think they were quite excited. I showed them before they actually got access, and yeah, their initial reaction was really good. So I'm just waiting to see over the next few days as they all start to have a good play around how they're finding it. But I'm sure they're gonna love it.
Excellent. John, Paul is asking, is there an ETA on the conditional sections and forms?
It is in development right now, but I don't have a hard date. But when things are in development, we're usually 8 weeks away in total. So I know it's no longer than 8 weeks, but I can nail that down for you if that's something that you need quicker, get you an exact date.
Okay, excellent. And we have another question over here. When is the estimated time to have sub items function as linked records? I like using formulas to extract any record from the sub item and use the field values.
Yeah, that will be early Q1 of this year. So again, that is actually in development as well. So we have upgraded our sub items field type to act just like a linked record. So all of the capabilities that you have with a linked record, you'll have as a sub item. So across the board with notifications, formulas, automations, everything that's there. So we're not taking anything away from what you have right now. We're just adding a lot more capabilities to the sub item field type.
Will that include due dates?
It does, yes. Includes all 44 field types.
Okay, brilliant.
So we have another question here. Is there templates for single/multi-select lists?
There are, I know what you're asking. So there's two parts. The first part is we provide a set of predefined lists that come in the product that you can select from. And those are common things like countries, continents, states, genders, age groups, those types of things to make it easy for you. I think what you're asking is, can you set up your own templates? And that is not yet available. But if you see my whiteboard right here, it is on the board. And the very first template type that we're focused on is the values list template that you're asking about. After that comes application templates and record templates and solution templates all down the board. But the very first one that we'll roll out is for our single and multiple select values list.
Okay, excellent. John, it looks like we're getting a request to actually demo that. Is it possible to demo the single/multi-select predefined lists?
It is. Let me share. This is just a little demo account that I have pulled up where I just play around. We'll just add a single select list here. Once you're inside of the single select list, if you can click on this expand icon, it takes you into the advanced mode. And there's a couple of things that happen in advanced mode. First is you see the predefined list. These are the items I just talked about that are pretty common. As people find things that are more and more common, we'll continue to add to this list. So if you have recommendations, please let us know. But say that you're interested in date range or an age range, we'll show you what it is. You could import that list, but we also allow you, in some cases it makes sense and it doesn't, but we also allow you to pin list. So I could go and add another list and I could see that I could add that list that's in here. And then I can just quickly modify pieces. The template center will be very similar to this. So the name of this will be changed to templates. You'll be able to create templates and decide who can see those templates. And you could just do a single click to actually select those. Two other features that are used quite often here is that if you're doing some type of a calculation based on the selection of the values, you can go in and actually give these different values. And in the calculation itself, for the field, you don't have to add another field value to actually do a calculation. You can just run a calc on this field type and we're smart enough to pull the value. And then the last item that's pretty common is description. So if you're doing some type of a survey or selection for people, you could add a description for each item that's here as well.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, John. It looks like we're getting a question from Oscar. Is it possible to use the information in time tracking fields to create a report?
Yeah, the time tracking field type is just a regular field. So you can use that in any type of report that you want. You could also use it in any formula. So it's very common to be able to track total time by task and have groups of tasks that then summarize in total, the subtotals inside of grid view. It's also very common to show actual versus estimate and the variance that's there using a formula field for that.
Okay. And we're getting another question from Alex. I think we may have touched on this topic a little bit, but maybe we can expand on it. So one big thing for me, any chance to integrate seeing emails from/to clients, also SMS, WhatsApp calls, time, type, in and out, etc. Not necessary for sending emails from SmartSuite, but for seeing history of communications. Is it on the roadmap?
Make sure I understand, I think, what you're saying. So if you, a couple of things here. Through our API, you can actually send information into the comments panel that we have. So as an action is performed, you can use the API and take that action and send it in the comments panel. An example of that is, into the activity history panel as well. An example of that is Ply uses us for email. When you add the Ply button at the top and you click on that to send out customized emails, it will automatically pull the information back into the SmartSuite record for you. So you have the history as well as you can add the comment that's there. we're building all of that in that I just said directly for Google and Outlook, basically emails. We're in the beginning stages of trying to understand what's available with which quite a number of people have requested, but I don't have a good answer for that yet on what we can actually pull in from their API.
Okay. It looks like we're getting a further question from Oscar. Going back for a second to reporting on the time tracking field, Oscar wants to know if we can include the other fields within time tracking in some sort of report. So not just the quantity of time, but the actual dates and timestamps, as well as the comments that were entered when an individual is tracking time.
I need to think about that. So yeah, so you're asking for the line items to be included in a grid report, not just the track time that's there. We allow you to download those individually, but we don't show those in bulk somewhere. They are available through the API, and you can use Zapier to do some things to pull that in. Let me take that as a to-do and just see if there's a workaround with a formula or something that we could get you that information. If not, we can look at an enhancement for the field type to show detail as well.
Okay, excellent. I see Anna saying she also wants this as well. Natalie is asking capacity management, example based on time. So I have 5 staff, they get assigned to work, but they only have so many hours in a day. How can we manage their capacity to not assign too much or not enough work?
We have a video that Nate has prepared that shows how a professional services firm is doing just this. If we could just get the person's name. I didn't hear who you said. We could send that out and show that capability.
Okay. Excellent. Natalie, we're going to add that in the chat in just a moment. We're getting one more request, just going back to templates. I see templates is a big topic today. We're being asked what about templates for apps, app library?
Yes. So as I was talking before, the first part of that is the values list, the single and multiple select. The second stage of that is at the application level. So let's say that you wanted to set up a template for a contacts app that you use in a number of different places. You'll be able to just select that template, or what you do now, just make sure you understand, any application that's in SmartSuite, you can click on it, duplicate it, and then you can move it to another solution that's there. That particular feature is used quite often for that very reason, like template. I know a lot of people that have used products like Asana and Reich and ClickUp Monday are used to templates that's there. That's mainly where that request is coming from. So we're going to offer that as well. So you have it both ways.
Okay, excellent. I see a question from Danny. I'm not sure I fully understand. So maybe Danny's able to clarify, but Danny says, I noticed individuals only have access to the entry-level status. Is SmartSuite only a team application, or can it also be issued by individuals on a higher than beginner platform status? I'm not sure. Danny, if you're able to clarify that question, we'd love to take it. Okay. If I missed any questions, please throw them back in. I've been trying to go in order, but I may have missed. I do want to remind everyone, it looks like, okay, Nina, it looks like we have a question that just came in for you. Any chance Nina can describe her main table workflow?
Sorry, unmute. The main table, the main data, that was really the single source of truth. So that really acts as, I guess, the depository for everything else. There isn't so much a workflow attached to that one, because it's, apart from triggering the automation that kicks off the records in the partner success table, that's where then is that what you mean? Maybe the other table. Yeah, so at the moment, the workflow is the onboarding team starts really with the client records, creates it from the main data using that automation, and then we can assign, I've also got a function where we can assign checklist items to the solutions engineers, and then eventually it gets handed over to the partner success, although there is some crossover. There's various, like, I didn't show you everything, but there are other automations that work throughout the flow. And then what I've tried to do is make sure that data is going back into that needs to be what I call a fixed data point for the client, something that needs to be locked down. I want to send back into the main data, but the day-to-day work can happen in this separate area. And there's various automations and workflows going on in there. But the main data itself, I think, just is fairly static. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, okay. I see a question from Bram. I'm not sure I fully understand. Okay, so Bram is adding, is it a single database for all solutions or all apps or hybrid? Not fully. Bram, maybe you want to clarify what your question is exactly.
Yeah, Avi, I think I understand that.
Okay.
Basically, SmartSuite is a relational database behind the scenes. So you can think of a solution as just a grouping of tables. What you would call a table in a database, we call an app. That's just a collection of fields and attributes, things that you want to have there. And you can link these tables, these apps, to each other in any type of relational way that you want. And you can decide where to start in that relationship. As you begin to build these tables, we don't require you to define the hierarchy and always start from that perspective. Maybe you want to look at all your projects and then see all your customers that are under the projects that are happening. Or maybe you want to go to customer and you want to see a listing of projects that you're doing for them or by contact. So think of SmartSuite as it's just a big relational database, and each app that you create is just a new table. And now you can create linkages between all of these different tables in any way that you want. And what's a little different about SmartSuite is that we don't limit you to tables just inside of the solution that you're in. You could link to any other app in SmartSuite that you have access to. So it really reduces the need to have so much duplicated data when you can just access control the information the way you want.
Okay. I see a question coming in from Jeff. Why the limit of 15 apps? Will this ever be increased?
Yes, we're actually having discussions right now we had no idea that people would create so many. We've actually, the biggest that I've seen is 66 that came in from a customer using another product that wanted to convert over that's there. We're not going to go all the way to 60 because we want to help you keep things like organized and logical inside of SmartSuite, so things are just always super fast and efficient for you. But that number is going to more than double. So it's going to be 30 plus. I'm just not sure of the exact number yet.
Okay. John, we're getting a question here. Is there a HubSpot integration?
It is. It's actually done and in testing. It could be released as soon as this week. I'll get an update here in just a little bit. But yeah, it's done. I've seen it work live. It's pretty cool. And it's a new automation action that you'll see for HubSpot.
That is awesome. We have another question coming in. A lot of product questions. So I guess John will continue taking questions. Any plans of displaying icons to the field types? Sometimes we need to double click to know what's the field type.
Yeah, that's a good one. I know exactly what you're asking. We had that prior, and the request that came in from the community was to remove the icons that were there, which we have. It seems like about 50% of people like them and 50% of the people would prefer not to have them. I'm trying to find a way that's just an easy option for you to turn that on, or for you to hover over the field type and us display the icon on hover that kind of causes or that changes that. We found that users that are just consuming SmartSuite would rather not have the icons. Admins, creators that are creating and building things find them very useful. So it could also be that we do it just by the role that you're in. If you're just a general user, you don't see it. If you're a creator, we try to give it to you. So just know we're having those discussions. And if you have thoughts, feel free to reach out to me on that.
Okay, excellent. John, we have a question for you coming in from Bram. Would John recommend using SmartSuite for CRM as a replacement for HubSpot? I want to use SmartSuite for everything. We
use SmartSuite for everything in our own company that's there. We feel like we can't ask you to use our product if we don't use it for everything that's there as well. We, in the case of HubSpot and most point solutions like that are really good and been around, we provide 90 to 95% of the capabilities that you would find in that product out of the box with what we can do. We find that most companies don't need that last 10 to 15% to actually do their work. And that's when SmartSuite really shines for you, when you could have your sales, your marketing, your HR, your product development all in one place. But if you do need some of those very specific features from those point solutions, that's why you see us performing integrations with companies like HubSpot so that you can pull data from both. And with HubSpot specifically, we'll be adding a sync capability here in the first quarter that will allow you to sync entire, like your contacts list that's in HubSpot. We can have that on a sync where every time you update something in HubSpot, it will update the contact record automatically in SmartSuite as well.
Excellent. First of all, I see someone is echoing what John just said. HubSpot is focused on sales, so it's not for every company. I thought they were very expensive too. Another question coming in regarding our import from Airtable. Sorry, I joined late. Not sure if this has been asked. Have you written an import routine from Airtable?
Yeah, so there's two things that we have here. This is pretty common just in the last month that we're getting. We have an internal script so that if you are a customer, sign up for a single user, our onboarding team will help you move over the bases and tables that you have in your Airtable account over. We can do that kind of behind the scenes with the script. Excuse me. We're also looking at an import feature that does just that. So you just click and connect to your Airtable third-party account. It could be Airtable and quite a number of other vendors. It will then pull back a list of, in the Airtable case, the bases that you have access to. You can pick those and then we will auto import, and you can decide if you want just the structure or if you want the structure and the data to come in.
Awesome. Elena is asking, what about Wix? Any chance you are working on integration there as well?
That is not one that anybody has hit me with yet. That's the first time I've heard that. I would say, Alina, if you could go into the feature request into our public roadmap, just add what you want for Wix, give me a little detail on how you would actually use it. And we can obviously do a quick review to see what's available in their API.
Okay, now I see we're having a Wix versus WordPress in the chat. So folks, have at it. I see another question coming in. I think this is something we addressed, but maybe we can clarify this. Can we do automations inside a form that goes out to a client? For example, if they answer yes or no to a question, it changes the following question in the form. Sandra, we'll touch on this. So this is what we mean by conditional logic in forms, which I believe John touched on earlier in the webinar. It's something we are working on, and is a very powerful feature. So we hope to have it soon.
Yeah, so we'll have that in the first quarter. I just don't have a hard date, but it is being worked on right now.
Oscar is adding an integration with JotForm will be great. It has advanced form capabilities, including advanced pre-fill options. I've already submitted this in the roadmap request.
Yeah, so you can use JotForm through Zapier and Make as well. I think because of Oscar, we also looked at that in planning to add that as a core action type inside of automations for JotForm. We haven't started that, but it's in that mix.
Okay, excellent. I see someone. Okay, we have another question coming back into the icons on the field types. I'll just throw this in as a comment. So we're getting a comment from Vaskeen. Please bring back the icons and let the user be able to show hide from the settings. So I guess so we can take that conversation offline. Natalie is asking, I understand that you will be offering affiliates, for the lack of better term, create and sell templates in the future. So this is, I think, the template marketplace that we're talking about. However, would it be able to have TOS to create database for a client in SmartSuite and then charge them a monthly fee to manage it on their behalf?
Okay, there's a couple of parts to this. Let me just make sure that you understand what's going to be available. The first part that's actually in testing, we hope to release on Monday through Wednesday of next week, is our shared solution capability that allows you to create a solution in one workspace and share that with somebody, and they can download that into their workspace. You'll also be able to go into duplicate solution. And if you have access to more than one workspace, you'll be able to see those and select the workspace for you to just duplicate and copy that over. So that sets the stage for allowing our partners to share solutions with customers freely, completely on them. We will then be in the first quarter releasing a marketplace that will allow our partners to come in and create solutions. And you can decide if you give those solutions away for free or if you want to charge for those solutions. The transaction is directly between you and the customer. We are only concerned about the number of users, the license that the customer has. But we always allow them to have unlimited solutions that are there. So that's completely up to you. And you can also decide if you bundle that with services to say, this costs $10,000 and you get 80 hours of services plus this particular process template that is available.
Okay. Looks like we have one last question, unless another question comes in before we're done answering this. All right. are we adding any more functions into formulas? Example today as a function.
We do have a list of additional functions that are on the board. That the now feature or today feature I thought is working. Is Brian or Pete on this where you can respond back to that?
Okay, excellent.
Or who asked that question? We'll make sure we get back to them on that.
It looks like Gin is asking that question. Okay. We'll get back to you. It looks like, yes, we have the now function or today function.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought.
Okay. So that's the clarification. So the now function is the today function.
Correct.
Okay. Excellent. I think we're okay. Going back to the template marketplace, we're getting a comment here from Jess. Brilliant feature. Can I allow people to duplicate my base, but not share it?
So they would not be able to share any further, is what you're saying.
Right. Maybe like a read only. I'm not sure. Jess, maybe you're able to clarify that.
No, I completely understand what she's asking. It just hit me right when you asked that question, the value of that. I need to think about that, but you're absolutely right. You would want to limit if a solution that you have shared can actually be shared with somebody else.
Okay. It looks like I have a question here from Sandra that I missed. Sorry, Sandra. We're going to touch on it right now. Sandra is asking, I would love to be able to upload the spreadsheet, have it track income per rep/client, and also be able to track their monthly volume. So the sales rep can individually see their merchant volume, history, and their income on that client.
So help me, Avi, are we talking about wanting to be able to import all of that into SmartSuite so they can see it live in SmartSuite, or push data back to the spreadsheet?
Sandra, maybe you can help clarify, but I think this is basically just a template that was possible to create in the sales CRM to just basically create a bunch of reports. Oh, Sandra is clarifying, import monthly reports for clients' numbers so reps can track it.
Yeah.
So I guess.
Yeah, there is the ability to import, to do just that, to bring it in. There is, and then with sales rep, there's two ways that people can come into your account. I'll make sure that everybody understands this. There's paid members where users can actually come in and can update information inside of records. And then we have a concept of guests, which are free. You can have as many guests as you want. A guest user can come in. They can still be granted access to particular solutions or apps, but they have read-only access to the data. They can't actually update anything, but they do have the ability to add comments in the comments panel if you turn that on. In this particular case, it may be that you just need a guest access, bring in the reports, let your sales rep see that. It's very common to have one dashboard per sales rep. You use the current user filter type that we have. So you just create a single dashboard, but when the rep logs in, they'll see all of their metrics just specific to them. And we have examples of that if you'd like for us to help show anything for you.
Okay, excellent. Danny is asking, is a date formula possible to create a specific date in the future? Example, 6 months from today.
You can do that through automation for sure. And yeah, I guess through a formula, you would just, you take today's date plus whatever, and we can show the new date.
Okay, excellent. Well, folks, looks like we're coming up on time. I want to thank Nina again for presenting and explaining why she chose SmartSuite over other solutions she was considering for her client, showing us her favorite features. If you want to get in touch with Nina, I dropped her website earlier in the chat, but her website is ninataylorva.com. For all of your questions, if you need help implementing technology for your company, please feel free to reach out to Nina. And thank you, both John and Nina, for taking the questions and sharing everything on our roadmap. Thank you, everyone, for joining, and hopefully we'll see you on the next webinar or in the product.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.